Okay, let's go through the papers as usual. Question 1 talks about the midpoint. I was sad to see a lot of you drop marks on this. Remember, you take the two x coordinates. So you take the two x coordinates, add them and half them. So 0 plus minus 4 is minus 4. And then half of it gives you minus 2. Do the same with the two y values. So 2 plus minus 1. So 2 plus minus 1 gives you 1. And then half of it is 0.5. So your coordinates should be minus 2, 0.5. Or you can write a half, that would be absolutely fine as well. Work out the gradient. So got to be careful again with the gradient. It's a difference in y. So you've got to look at the y values first, divided by the difference in x. Okay, so in this case, we look at our y's and we take our second one first and we do minus 1, take away 2. And then we look at our x values. Again, take the second one first, so minus 4, take away 0. That gives us minus 1, take away 2 is minus 3. And minus 4, take away 0 is minus 4. So it's positive 3/4 because we're dividing a negative by a negative. So it's just 3/4. If you put 0.75, that is also fine. Now, this actually didn't require much work, and it's still worth 2 points. It didn't require much work because actually you know where it crosses the y-axis. So remember, to find an equation, starts off with y equals 3/4 x plus c. And we're trying to find c where, and this is where the line crosses the y-axis. Actually, they've pretty much given it to you because if you look at the coordinates of A, it's 0, 2. So this is 0, 2. So it crosses at 2. So our equation is 3/4 x plus 2. Okay. You could have worked it out by substituting the values, and that is also fine. It's just a bit more hard work when it's already basically given to you. Okay, number 2. Nice and easy. When we're dividing indices, we take the two indices and we subtract them. So 9 take away 5 is 4, so e to the power 4. Then here we multiply the indices because they're in brackets next to each other. So 2 times 8 is 16, so y to the power 16. To expand this bracket, it's absolutely up to you. You know I like the grid, so I do x plus 9 times by x take away 2. You can use the arrows, absolutely, that's fine. Now, x times x is x squared. 9 times x is 9x. X times minus 2 is minus 2x. And 9 times minus 2 is minus 18. You do get 1 mark for coming up with those 4 terms. And then obviously for the second mark, you need to successfully simplify 9x take away 2x, which is 7x. So your final answer is x squared plus 7x take away 18. A lot of you came undone with the expanding. So you look for the biggest number that goes into 4 and 20. So look for the biggest number that goes into 4 and 20. It is, 4 and 20, 16 and 20. I just revealed the answer. It is 4. So I'm going to take 4 outside the brackets. 4 goes into 16 4 times, goes into 20 5 times. Now I see if I can take out any letters. I have to look at the lowest power because I can't take out more than that. So the lowest power of C is C to the power of 1. So I can only take out C to the power of 1. And then I cancel it off here and that becomes C to the power of 3. Then I look at the P's. The lowest power for the P's is P squared. So I can take off a P squared here. And then I'm taking off 2 here, so it becomes P to the power of 1. So that's what goes outside the brackets, 4C P squared. Inside the brackets then, it's what's left. We've got 4C cubed, and then that's it on that side, plus 5, there's no C, and just a P, and that's it. And then you factorise that. Next, so Bella and Millie share some money in the ratio 5-2. Bella receives €10.50 more than Millie. We need to be careful. That's not saying how much money they have in total. So you cannot just add up. You cannot just add up 5 plus 2 and then divide €10.50 by 7. It's telling you that that's the gap between how much each person gets. So let's find the gap between the ratio. 5 take away 2 is 3. So the gap in ratio between the two is 3 parts. That is telling us is equivalent to €10.50. That gap of 3 parts is equal to €10.50. So then I can do €10.50 divided by 3 to get what 1 part is. I'm just doing that on the calculator. So 1 part is €3.50. And so if you want to find out the total amount that they share, in total we've got 7 parts. So we're going to do €3.50 times by 7 to find out how much in total, and that gives you 24. Oh, sorry, let me write that nicely. €24.50. Now there are other ways you can do it, and obviously you've got it if you got it right using an alternative method, that is also fine. Question 4. So we know that a camera has gone on sale. We know the sale price. But it says work out the normal price of the camera. So this is a reverse percentage question. We know that it was reduced by 15%, so 100%. Take away 15% gives us 85% in total. Turn that into a decimal by dividing by 100, which gives us 0.85. Now, because it's a reverse, we're not going to multiply 6,630 by 0.85. We are going to divide it. So we're going to divide 6,630 by 0.85. And that gives me 7,800. Okay. Right, number 5, make P the subject of the formula. Again, lots of people struggled with this, so I'm going to do this the long way. You look at what's happening to P. What's happening to P is being multiplied by 3, then take away D. That leads me to F. That's what F equals, is P times 3 and then take away D. Go backwards now, take your F. And instead of taking away D, I'm going to add D. So let's start off with, so P equals, so what I've done first of all is I've done F plus D. And then finally, instead of timesing by 3, I'm going to divide by 3. So that becomes over 3, okay? That gives me what P is. Okay. Right. This one again was hopefully you thought it was quite straightforward. Sergio buys N boxes of seeds and N packets of seeds. Each box contains 10 seeds. Each packet contains 6 seeds. And so it says write a formula for T, which is the total number of seeds that Sergio buys. So if he buys one box, there are going to be 10 seeds because it's 1 times 10. If he buys 3 boxes, it would be 3 times 10 because there are 10 seeds in each box. However, all we know is that there are M boxes, so we're going to do 10M. Okay? Plus, the same for the packets. I don't know how many packets he's bought. If it was 1 packet, it would be 1 times 6. If it was 5 packets, it would be 5 times 6. But it's not. It's N packets. So it's it's N times, 6 times N. Okay? So we don't know. So that's it. And that was a giveaway, really, for 3 marks. Okay, write this in standard form. Remember, we want a number between 1 and 10. So I'm going to move the decimal point here so that it becomes 4.51 times 10 to the power of. And look at how many times I had to move it. I had to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And it is a smaller number, so it's -4. And I think 1 or 2 of you forgot to put the negative in. Next one, B, we want to work this out. So it's nice and easy. The first bit you can do on your calculator. So you can work out what 7.8 divided by 2.4 is, which gives you 3.25. So that is a number between 1 and 10, so we don't need to do anything to it. So 7.8 divided by 2.4. Then remember, when we dividing, what do we do to the indices? We subtract them. So we're going to do 5 take away -4. So 5 take away -4, which gives us 9. So it's 3.25 times 10 to the power of 9. Okay, here what I would do, just to get some marks, is I would take my X, Y, and Z and work out the lower bound and the upper bound for each of these, and then I'll decide what I'm going to use. So X equals 3. And that's to the nearest one significant figure. So basically to the nearest whole number. So nearest whole number, 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. So lower bound is 2.5 and upper bound is 3.5. Then this one, Y is 8.37. And also, remember I said to you that your upper and lower bounds are always 1 more accurate than your original number. So if your original number is to 1 decimal place, your upper and lower bounds are going to be to 2 decimal places. If your original number is to 2 decimal places, your upper and lower bound are going to be to 3 decimal places, and so on. So it's always 1 more accurate. So here, 8.37 to 3 significant figures, it's to basically to 2 decimal places. So we're halving 0.01, and half of that, again, you can do it on the calculator, really, if you want to double check, is 0.05. And so my lower bound is 8.365. My upper bound is 8.375. And then the last one, Z equals 5.3 to 1 decimal place. And so 1 decimal place is 0.1. Halve it. And so our upper and lower bounds is going to be plus or minus 0.05. So my lower bound is 5.25 and my upper bound is 5.35. Okay, so we've done most of the hard work. Now here, we've got to be careful. This is a subtraction. It's asking me for the upper bound. So on that subtraction, I want the biggest number possible. And this is where some people kind of fell down. You used all of your lower bounds. No. If you're subtracting to get the biggest number possible, I need to take my upper bound of y and take away the smallest z. So in those brackets, I should have 8.375, take away 5.25. But you're right about the multiplication. The multiplication, I'm going to take my upper bound of x. So I'm going to multiply by 3.5 and put that in the calculator. So 3.5 times 8.375, take away 5.25. And that gives me 10.9375 as my answer. Okay, a lot of you kind of messed this up in the method, and I'm afraid you got no marks for not using an algebraic method. So it was a nice one. Remember, I told you if it's one number recurring times by 10, two numbers recurring times by 100, three numbers recurring times by 1,000. So here I'm going to say that x equals 0.396396, going on forever and ever. And I'm going to multiply by 1,000 because there are three numbers recurring. So 1,000x equals 396.396396, on and on forever and ever. Then I subtract. Now, 6 take away 6, 9 take away 9, all of the recurring part here disappears, and all I'm left with is 396 take away 0. So 396 take away 0, which is 396, and 1,000x take away 1x, which is 999x. Then I want to leave x on its own, so I'm going to subtract, divide both sides by 999. Okay, so let's have a look. So x equals 396 over 999. Now we haven't quite got it to look like this, so hopefully you realise that you needed to simplify. 9 is the biggest number that goes into both top and bottom, and some of your calculators, if you put that fraction in, it will simplify it for you anyway. Okay, so 396 divided by 9 is 44, and of course 999 divided by 9 is 111. So that's done. Factorising. So you are looking for two numbers that add to make minus 2, but multiply to make minus 48. So don't forget the minus. And so if you really struggle with that, I would look at all your factors of minus 48 and see which ones would add to make minus 2. So you can go on forever, really. Not ever, but it takes a while, but I'm just going to do some as an example. Could be minus 1 and positive 48. Could be positive 1 and minus 48. Minus 2 and positive 24. Positive 2 and minus 24. And so on. You can go through that. Hopefully, if you know your times tables really well, you know that it's possibly going to be something to do with 6 and 8, because 6 times 8 is 48. So one of them has to be negative in order to make add to make minus 2. And that is the 8. So it doesn't matter which way around you put the brackets. Y plus 6, y minus 8. Okay. Write the inequality shown on the number line. So we start off with our x. It's going down the number line, so it's getting smaller. So less than. And because this dot is coloured in, it can be equal to, and the dot is at 3. So x is less than or equal to 3. Solve this inequality. Okay. Some of you took the equal sign out and did it that way. It really doesn't matter. Although I think some of you, I'll have to check. I think some of you made the mistake of dividing by a negative number, which is fine. But then remember, when you divide by a negative number, you have to swap the sign around. Okay? Anyway, I'm going to start us off. So let's go. I'm going to do it the negative. I'm going to take away 12w from both sides. And so I end up with minus 5w plus 6 is greater than 14. Okay, because I've got rid of that there. Then I'm going to take away 6 from both sides. And I end up with minus 5w is greater than 8. Okay. And then what I've got to be careful of is that I'm going to now divide by minus 5. And so my final answer is w. I've got to change the sign around because I'm dividing by a negative number. And I can leave it as 8 over 5 or turn it into a decimal and minus 1/6. Okay, so just be careful if you decide to go that way. I mean, the other way I could have done it, and I'll just quickly do that actually, so that you've got both. The other way, and I won't use different colours just to make it a bit quicker, is that you could have taken away 7w from both sides to get 6 is greater than 5w plus 14. Then you could have taken away 14 from both sides, which gives you minus 8 is greater than 5w. And then you divide both sides by 5. Now, because you're dividing by a positive number, you do not need to change the sign around. So that becomes minus 1.6 is greater than w. These two mean the same thing, yeah? Either w is less than minus 1.6 or minus 1.6 is greater than w. Means exactly the same thing. We've just written it the other way round, okay? Right, a bit of Pythagoras. Here they want you to find the shorter side, so we're going to subtract. So we're going to do 12.8 squared, take away 9.7 squared. So just do that on your calculator. It was very straightforward if you had revised. So 12.8 squared, take away 9.7 squared. That gives you 69.75, and then square root your final answer, and that gives you, to 3 significant figures, 8.35. This was an LCM question, and so it was completely up to you how you did it. You could do the trees, or you could have listed your 50 times table, your 80 times table. Either way, I think you get to 400. I quite like, so you would have just done 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, and again 160, 240, 320, 400. So you can see here that 400 is your LCM, and you would have got the same if you had done your trees. I will quickly do it because some of you did use trees, and I want to make sure that you also understand here. So 2 times 40, 8 times 5, 2 times 4, 2 times 2. Okay, oops. And so you would have had a Venn diagram like so. 2 would have gone in the middle, a 5 would have gone in the middle, but otherwise you would have had a 5 left here for 50, and then you would have had 1, 2, 3, 2's here for 80. And then when you multiply that all together, you would have found that to be 2 times, yeah, that's 8 times 5, which is 40 times 10, 400. So it would have given you 400 as well when you multiply all those numbers together. So you now know the LCM is 400 minutes. But read the question carefully. It says, find the time at which they next sound together. So we need to find the time. We know they sound together at 10 a.m. But when's the next time? So 400 minutes is 6 hours. So let me write it down here. 400. Ooh. So 400 minutes is 6 hours. Yeah, so 6 hours and 40 minutes. And so 10 a.m. Plus 6 hours gets you to 16, if we're doing the 24-hour clock, 16 or 4 in the afternoon, and then plus the 40 minutes, so 16:40, or if you wrote 4:40 p.m, that is also fine as well, same thing. Here we've got some straightforward trigonometry, so let's label the sides. We've got an opposite, so remember we're trying to find this angle here, so that's opposite the angle. This is next to the angle, so it's the adjacent, and this is the longest side, so it's the hypotenuse. I know nothing about the opposite, so I don't need it. So I'm going to use K, okay? Because I only want the adjacent and the hypotenuse involved. When I then cover up what I'm trying to find, which is the angle, it says I need to do adjacent divided by hypotenuse. So let's do that. So I know that cos of x equals the adjacent 8.3 divided by 9.5. Remember, we need to do our inverse cos in order to find the angle. And so I can just do this straight in the calculator like this. I do my inverse cos, and then in brackets I put 8.3 divided by 9.5. And that gives me 29.1 as an angle. And that's it. Also because it said to 1 decimal place. And then finally, let's end this with a good old simultaneous equation. We can't go straight into eliminating because the coefficients of x's are not the same and the coefficients of y's aren't the same. I'm going to make the y's the same, so I'm going to multiply this second equation all by 3. So let's write it out. My first one stays the same, 7x plus 3y equals 3. And my second equation becomes 9x, because 3x times 3 is 9x. Then 3 minus y times 3 is minus 3y equals 7 times 3, which is 21. And then remember our stop. Yeah, so our stop, if they are the same, take away. Opposites, plus. Okay, so they're the two things you need to remember. Same, take away. Oh, sorry. Take away. I've messed that up. But you get opposites plus. Okay, and they are opposites, so I'm going to add them. Okay, so 7x plus 9x is 16x. 3y plus minus 3y is 0, so that disappears. And then 3 plus 21 is 24. And so then x equals 24 divided by 16, which gives me 1.5. Okay, so just to make it clear, I'll write that here. I divided both sides by 16 to give me x equals 1.5. So I've got that 1.5 here. Then I need to substitute into any of those equations to find my y. So I'm going to substitute into the original first one. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to do 3 times 1.5. Take away y equals 7. And so 3 times 1.5 is 4.5. Take away y equals 7. I'm going to subtract 4.5 from both sides so that I get, so I get minus y equals 7 take away 4.5, can't think this morning, 2.5. And then I've got to get rid of the negative 1 on this side. So I'm going to divide by minus 1. And so I get positive y equals minus 2.5. That's minus 2.5. Okay, that is it. Okay, hope that was useful.